This week on Vaticano, the new Secretary of State, Archbishop Piero Parolin, begins his first day of work. Pope Francis distributes boxes of what he calls medicine to wrap up the year of faith. He also pays a visit to the Italian president across Rome, ordains a new bishop, and meets with this Russian Orthodox Christian leader. The 90-year-old Father Peter Gumpel looks back on his friend Pope Pius XII's life. And Berlin prepares a Vatican-organized event to bring atheists and Christians together to speak. All this coming up on Vaticano. Archbishop Piero Parolin has officially started his work as the Vatican's Secretary of State. November 18th was his first workday after Pope Francis had appointed him during the ceremony on October 15, which he did not take part in. The Archbishop, who has been absent for a month recovering from an emergency surgery, began his post looking thin but well. He then held his first meeting receiving the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Perry Gladstone Christie, in the Vatican's Apostolic Palace. His collaborators described the Vatican No. 2, who was Undersecretary for Relations with States, as calm and prepared. Eight months into his pontificate, Pope Francis hasn't stopped surprising the world. This week here during the Angelus prayer in St. Peter's Square, he prescribed medicine to those present. He called it Misericordina and distributed 20,000 boxes on the spot.
Some will think, has the Pope now turned into a pharmacist? Well, it is a special medicine to make concrete the fruits of the year of faith, which is now ending. It is a medicine made up of 59 beads. It's a spiritual medicine called Misericordia, a box with 59 beads. The medicine is in this box, and some volunteers will distribute them while you are in the square. Do not forget it. Take one. You will find the rosary inside, with which you will be able to pray the little crown of mercy, a spiritual help for your soul, and to spread love, forgiveness, and fraternity around the world. Do not forget your medicine, because it will do you well. It is good for the heart, the soul, and for your whole life.
Before praying the Angelus, the Pope spoke of Jesus' word at the temple about the end of time. He remembered in particular those who are persecuted for their faith today.
These words of Jesus are always current, even for us who live in the 21st century. He repeats to us, "Do not be fooled. Many will come in my name." He invites us to discern that Christian virtue that makes us understand where the Spirit of the Lord is and where the spirit of evil is. Even today, we can find false saviors who try to substitute themselves for Jesus. For example, some world leaders, goody-goodies, warmongers, personalities who want to attract the minds and the hearts, especially of the young. Jesus warns us, do not go after them. Do not go after them. For his part, the Lord helps us to not have fear. In the face of wars, revolutions, in the face of natural disasters, Jesus frees us from fatalism and from false apocalyptic visions. A second aspect that Jesus deals with and that challenges us as Christians and as a church is the following. Jesus foreshadows painful trials and persecutions that his disciples would have to suffer for his cause. However, he reassures us that not a single hair from your heads will be lost. With these words, he reminds us that we are totally in God's hands. Difficulties we face because of our faith and our fidelity to the gospel are occasions to witness. They do not need to move us away from the Lord, but they need to rather bring us closer each time to him and take us to complete abandonment in him, in the strength of his Spirit and his grace. In this moment I am thinking, and I ask that you remember them with me, let us think of all the Christian brothers and sisters who suffer persecution because of their faith. There are many, maybe even more than there were at the beginning of the century. Jesus is with them. We are also united to them with our prayer and our affection. And at the same time, we feel a profound admiration for their courage and testimony. They are our brothers and sisters who in so many parts of the world suffer because they are faithful to Jesus Christ. We greet them from the heart and with an immense affection.
Li salutiamo da cuore e con affetto.
He concluded with a reflection about the end of time with a message of hope.
Le prove e le difficoltà
Trials and difficulties form part of a bigger design. The Lord, the master of history, leads everything to its fulfillment. Despite the disorders and misfortunes that disturb the world, the design of God's goodness and mercy will be fulfilled. It is our hope. This message of Jesus helps us reflect about our present, and it gives us the necessary strength to face it with courage and hope, in the company of the Virgin Mary, who always walks at our side.
che sempre cammina con noi.
Pope Francis made the trip across downtown Rome to visit Italian President Giorgio Napolitano on November 14th. The Pope thanked him for his many gestures of attention since his election to the pontificate. Francis likewise reached out to the president, and through him, to all of Italy.
Rendendole visita in questo luogo così caro.
As I visit you in this place, so full of symbols and history, I wish to tell you that I would ideally like to knock on the door of every inhabitant of this country, where the roots of my earthly family are, and offer everyone the healing and always new word of the gospel. The present moment is marked by the economic crisis, which is difficult to overcome, and a shortage of work is among its most painful effects. It is necessary to redouble efforts to alleviate the consequences and to seize and fortify any sign of recovery. The primary task of the Church is to witness to the mercy of God and also to encourage generous responses of solidarity to open up a future of hope. This is because hope grows where energy is multiplied, and there is commitment to building a social and civil order that is more humane and just, and encouraging new potential for sustainable and healthy development.
Per un nuovo sviluppo sostenibile e sano.
Pope Francis then remembered his visit to the Italian island of Lampedusa, where thousands of immigrants arrive each year from Africa by boat. Also his trip to Cagliari in the Italian region of Sardinia, where he spoke of the dignity that comes with work. Then his third journey within Italy to the city of peace, Assisi, where he celebrated the feast of St. Francis in October. Pope Francis said that in each of these places he touched the wounds that afflict people in the nation today.
Signor Presidente,
Mr. President, in these circumstances, it is important for me to voice my hope, sustained by prayer, that Italy, drawing close to its rich heritage of civil and spiritual values, may know again how to find the creativity and the harmony necessary for its harmonious development, to promote the common good and the dignity of every person, and to offer in the International Assembly its contribution for peace and justice. I am especially thankful to join in the esteem and the affection that the Italian people have for your person, and renew my most cordial congratulations for the performance of your duties in your very high charge. May God protect Italy and its inhabitants.
l'Italia e tutti I suoi abitanti.
Before leaving the presidential palace to return to the Vatican, the Pope greeted employees and their family members with his characteristic touch. Stay with us. After the break, Catholic and Russian Orthodox foundations hold a concert to thank Pope Francis for his peace efforts. And we speak with this priest who has investigated in depth the life of Pius XII. Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano. Pope Francis has ordained the Secretary of the Governorate of the Vatican City as a new bishop here at St. Peter's Basilica. The pontiff said he was naming Fernando Vergez Alzaga bishop so he could coordinate the pastoral care of city-state employees. This includes those working at the Vatican Post Office and the Vatican Museums. In his homily, the Pope reminded him that being a bishop is a title of service and not of honor.
Quanto a te, Fernando.
Fernando, my dearest brother, so many things come to my memory in this moment. You are chosen by the Lord. Reflect that you have been chosen from among men and for men. You have been established in the things of the Lord. This is a title of service, not of honor, so the bishop serves more than he dominates. According to the commandment of the teacher, whoever is greatest among you will become the smallest, and he who governs is the one who serves. Announce the word in all appropriate and inappropriate moments. Warn, rebuke, exhort with total patience and correct doctrine. And through prayer and sacrificial offering for your people, draw upon the fullness of the holiness of Christ, the manifold richness of divine grace. For the church that is entrusted to you, you must be the faithful guardian and dispenser of the mysteries of Christ. And in a special way, the pastoral care of the employees of the Vatican is entrusted to you. You are to be a father and a brother to them, with true love and tenderness. It is the place of the father, as the head of the family, to always follow the example of the Good Shepherd, who knows his sheep and is known by them, and who has not ceased to give his life. Love with the love of a father and a brother all those that God has entrusted to you, especially the priests and the deacons, your collaborators in your ministry, and also the poor, the defenseless, and those who are in need of being received and of help.
Esorta I fedeli a cooperare all'impegno apostolico e ascoltali volentieri.
Metropolitan Hilarion, one of the Russian Orthodox Church's highest-ranking clerics, was in the Vatican for a series of encounters in mid-November. Here he was with Pope Francis on November the 12th. Though the two churches have been split since the Great Schism of the 11th century, recent relations are improving. Pope Francis is carrying forward the great legacy of his predecessors in emphasizing points of unity. He is also recognizing points of diversity with the hope that in the future they will be overcome. Later that evening, this concert was held to say thank you to the Pope for his efforts to promote peace in recent months. The event was organized jointly between Catholic and Russian Orthodox foundations. The 47-year-old Metropolitan Hilarion Alfeyev composed the musical score himself, even adding the poetry of the great 20th century Spanish poet Federico García Lorca to Russian music, an apparent nod to the Pope's native language. Hilarion studied at the Moscow Conservatory in the early 1980s before entering the Orthodox priesthood. With two popes being canonized this coming April, there's another from the 20th century whose cause is still under consideration. It's Pope Pius XII. Pontiff who helped rescue Jews during the Second World War. In 2009, he was recognized by Benedict XVI for his heroic virtue, a major step to becoming a saint. Father Peter Gumpel, who just turned 90 years old, investigated the Pope's life as the cause was first being presented.
I had absolute access to every scrap of paper that is in the Vatican archives. The period of Pius XII is not yet accessible to scholars. But as a responsible investigating judge, I had to see everything. So I went there, I've studied, I think, about 100,000 pages regarding his life. I'm a fast reader, an accurate reader, many things are not relevant, etc., but you take out all the essential things. And I read a lot of literature, German literature of various periods of his life, etc., etc. What greatly impressed me, and which is very much unknown to people, is he is always presented as a diplomat. Now, he didn't want to become a diplomat. He wanted to become a parish priest. And when a high-ranking official of the Secretary of State came to see him shortly after his ordination, he had been a brilliant student, He said, we are always looking for people who have done brilliant studies and who also have revealed to have a good character. Why don't you come into the diplomatic service of the Holy See? And this young priest, Eugenio Pacelli, said, I'm not interested in that. I want to be a curate. I want to deal with the people, etc. But when this official said the Pope wants you to do that, then he obeyed. Later, when he became Apostolic Nuncio in Germany, and in December 1929, this task came to an end, he had been informed that he would be made a cardinal and probably will become the Secretary of State of Pius XI. And again, he moved heaven and earth to avoid this. He didn't want to become a cardinal, he didn't want to become Secretary of State. He asked for a diocese to act as a bishop in the care of souls. And not a tremendously big diocese. He said, then I wouldn't be able to meet with all my priests all the time. Not a very small one, because that wouldn't give me enough to do, but a medium-sized diocese, so that I can end my life as a pastor, as a shepherd of souls. You see, people do not know this. They present him occasionally. Recently, some years ago, a book was Diplôme et Pasteur in French, written by a Swiss. He came to see me, presented me with a copy, which I accepted gratefully. But I said, perhaps the title should be the other way around, pastor and diplomat, because even in his diplomatic activity, he was always and foremost the pastor.
Pope Pius XII's cause for canonization could soon advance a further step to beatification. Father Gumpel says there are several miracles attributed to his intercession currently under investigation. After a few moments' break, Vatican employees gear up to dialogue with atheists in Germany, and the director of the Sistine Chapel Choir dies, aged 96. Welcome back. This is Vaticano. On November 11th, the priest, composer, and conductor Cardinal Domenico Bartolucci died. This was his funeral on November 13th in St. Peter's Basilica. The Sistine Chapel Choir he directed for over 40 years, a fitting musical tribute for one of the greats of sacred music of the 20th century.
Die Liturgie braucht diese wunderschöne Musik.
The liturgy needs this beautiful music, and Cardinal Bartolucci's compositions, which he has left with us, are simply great. We members of the Per Musica and Arte Sacra are very grateful for what he has left us and for his example to us as a musician, namely a real commitment to create a beautiful liturgy, to make beautiful music.
Eine schöne Liturgie mit schöner Musik zu gestalten. Wenn man Werke von ihm gehört hat, die komponiert hat, hat man gemerkt.
When one listens to the pieces he composed, one notices that they were written by a priest because he also transmitted a deep devotion with these pieces. In Germany, it isn't like this anymore. But in Rome, we still have great conductors. For example, Massimo Palombella, who is the head of the choir of the Sistine Chapel. After Bartolucci, there is the Dean of Sacred Music, and that's Pablo Colino, the Spaniard, who has conducted the choir of the Julia Chapel in St. Peter's for over 30 years. Then we also have Maestro Frisina in the Archbasilica of St. John Lateran, who is also a priest. They're all priests. A legacy for me personally would be that sacred music helps one to reach 96 years of age. So I'm also interested in that sacred music that allows me to reach 96.
Musiker Sacra mich auch dazu bringt, dass ich 96 Jahre alt werde.
On several occasions, he performed in front of former Pope Benedict XVI, who named him Cardinal in 2010. Cardinal Bartolucci will go down in history as one of the most illustrious composers and conductors the Vatican has ever seen.
The rain and cold didn't discourage the faithful, who every Wednesday fill St. Peter's Square to attend the general audience with Pope Francis. The catechesis this week centered on the sacrament of confession, which reconciles us with God and men.
Hoy quiero hablar del perdón de los pecados.
Dear brothers and sisters, today I want to talk about the forgiveness of sins that form the part of the power of keys that Jesus gave to his disciples. The protagonist of the forgiveness of sins is the Holy Spirit. The resurrected Jesus, before communicating his Spirit, showed the signs of his passion, his wounds, that represent the price of our salvation, indicating that the Holy Spirit grants the forgiveness of God by passing through the wounds of his hands and his side. In turn, the Church is the depository of this power. It is not an owner. It is the servant of the ministry of reconciliation on behalf of man, accompanying his journey of conversion and his joy, always glad to offer this divine gift. God wanted us to receive his forgiveness through the ministers of the community. The priest, a man that, like all, has the necessity of mercy, is himself an instrument of reconciliation for his brothers. If he is not in this condition, it's better that he does not administer the sacrament. He must have peace in his heart in order to sow hope, and humility to receive the sinner who approaches him like Jesus himself.
During
the audience, the Pope also remembered the World Day for Cloistered Religious Communities, celebrated on November 21st.
The Courtyard of the Gentiles is an initiative from the Vatican's Pontifical Council for Culture that aims to bring atheists, agnostics, and Christians to the table for dialogue. Founded 4 years ago, it has been hosting conferences all over Europe and even in Mexico since 2011. The next one will be from 26th to the 28th of November in Berlin, Germany, a country where the Church is facing growing difficulties.
Allora, a Berlino stiamo organizzando questo grande evento.
In Berlin, we are organizing an encounter that has been requested by both the mayor of Berlin and by the Archbishop. The German Bishops' Conference has also wanted to participate in organizing this event. It's a great event that will last for 3 days. It will start with a welcome from the town hall with the mayor. Then there will be a conference there on very vast and interesting subjects. And there's ethics with or without God. Or to put it in Dostoevsky's words, if God doesn't exist, everything is permitted. Then there's another event at the Charité, a University of Medicine and a research center. There it will be more on medical subjects, like the extent to which man can manipulate ethics, but not only in the field of medicine, also in the relationship with the created. Another big event will be at the theater on the subject of blasphemy. To what point, under the freedom of expression, do I have the right to blaspheme or not? Then there will be another event in a museum, where there will be a double procession with young people, on the one side believers, and on the other non-believers. They will process into the museum. There will be people doing the special lights and decorations, and there will be a cross. And there they will let themselves be questioned by the artworks, the believers on the one side and the non-believers on the other. There will also be moments to listen to sacred music and non-sacred music. At the end, they will all gather together within the museum. They will mix and question each other. They will start a dialogue together on the experiences they had. The idea is always to place the believers and the non-believers in dialogue, a respectful dialogue, but also a sincere and honest one.
The courtyard is a space of expression for those who do not believe, but also for those who are asking questions about their faith. But Germany is not the only country to soon receive the courtyard. Washington, D.C. will be hosting an encounter from April 9 to the 11th, organized with the help of Georgetown University.
Con un memento importante su religione e società.
There will be an important discussion on society and secularism at the Library of Congress, and there will also be events within the Georgetown University campus with very diverse subjects between believing and non-believing students, maybe on beauty, justice, on peace, or even also on spirituality.
After Warsaw, Poland in October and Prague, the Czech Republic at the beginning of November, the courtyard is on a non-stop tour. With a Pope who has made encouraging dialogue a pillar of his pontificate, such initiatives will certainly continue to grow.
Il importe donc de dégager les conditions permettant aujourd'hui une telle